I am Nisha, Assistant Professor in the Department of Computer Science and Engineering. The topic which I am going to discuss today is models in human computer interaction. HCI models. The field of human computer interaction, whose goal is to make computers support human activity, is much more satisfying ways than they currently do. And this has various modeling. One such model is cognitive models, and these models represent users of interactive systems. A cognitive model can substitute for a human user to predict how users will perform on a system before it is implemented or even prototyped. This system can generate a cognitive model of the user currently interacting with the system in order to modify the interaction to better serve that user. And these cognitive models can substitute directly for people. So groups of individuals can be simulated in situations that require many participants. That is, we can take an example for training or entertainment. And this is a system that can generate a cognitive model of an end user that is currently interacting with the design and modify the interaction of the user with respect to the design to understand different outcomes. These cognitive models can replace a groups of individual users and can act in those situations that require many participants. The first one is hierarchical models, and this represents a user's task and goal structure. Second is linguistic models, and this represents user system grammar. The third one is physical and device models, and it represents human motor skills. Finally, you have the cognitive architectures, and this underlie all of these cognitive models. The various cognitive models are goal and task hierarchies. The second one is linguistic, the third one is physical and device, and the last one is architectural. The cognitive models. These models the various aspects of user are: one is understanding, the second one is knowledge, the third is intentions, and the fourth one is processing. The common categorization falls under competence versus performance, computational flavor, and there can be no clear divide. The various techniques involved in cognitive model are: the first one is GOMS. G stands for goals, O stands for operators, M stands for methods, and the S stands for selection. Next comes CCT, that is cognitive complexity theory, and the last one is HTA, hierarchical task analysis. G, goals. The first one is goals. The GOMS is an acronym for goals, operators, methods, and selection. GOM is a task analysis technique, and this GOM is family of user interface modeling techniques. The GOMS model has 4 components, that is goals, operators, methods, and selection rules. The first one is goals. These are tasks. The tasks are reconstructed as a set of goals and sub-goals. The goals are taken to represent a memory point for the user. The next one is operators. These are tasks that can only be carried out by undertaking specific actions. That is, example, to decide which search engine to use. And the third one is methods, and it represents ways of achieving a goal. Example is drag mouse over field. The last one is selection. Selection rules. This method, the method that the user chooses is determined by selection rules. That is, means of choosing between competing methods. We can choose something from the competing methods. The next one is CCT, that is cognitive complexity theory. Cognitive complexity is a psychological characteristic or psychological variable that indicates how complex or simple is the frame and perceptual skill of a person. This cognitive complexity theory was introduced by Keras and Paulson. And this CCT has 2 parallel descriptions. One is one of the user's goals, and the other is the computer system. That is, we call the device in CCT. For the system grammar, CCT apply generalized transition networks. That is a form of state transition network. The description of the user's goal is based on GOMS, like goal hierarchy, and it is expressed primarily using production rules. The production rules are a sequence of rules. If condition, then it will perform the action. Where condition is a statement about the contents of working memory. If the condition is true, then the production rule is said to be fire. An action may consist of one or more elementary actions, which may be either changes to the working memory or external actions such as keystrokes. So this is a parallel model, and it has procedurization of actions. It has novice versus expert style rules. Error behavior can also be represented. The measures that can be adapted are depth of goal structure, the number of rules, and comparison with device description. Next comes the linguistic models. Linguistic models, they represent the user system grammar, understanding the user's behavior and cognitive difficulty based on analysis of language between user and system. It has BNF, that is Backus Nav form, and TAG, task action grammar, are used to represent this model. BNF can be used to define the syntax of a language. It is based on techniques developed for use with natural languages but was specifically designed for use with computing languages. The BNF defines a language in terms of terminal symbols, syntactic constructs, and productions. The terminal symbols are the elementary symbols of the language, such as words and punctuation marks. In case of computing languages, these may variable names, operators, reserved words, etc. Syntactic constructs, this is also called as non-terminal symbols or phrases, sentences. In the case of computing language, these may be conditions, statements, and programs. Tag is task action grammar, and this attempts to deal with some of the problems by including elements such as parameterized grammar rules to emphasize consistency and encoding the user's world knowledge. The next model is the physical and device model, that is KLM model. K stands for keystroke, L stands for level, and M stands for model. So keystroke level model is KLM model, and it predicts how long it will take an expert user to accomplish a routine task without errors using an interactive computer system. The actions are termed keystroke level if they are at the level of actions like pressing keys, moving the mouse, pressing buttons. There is a standard set of operations for use in the KLM whose execution times have been estimated from experiential data. And the step-by-step description of how to apply the KLM to estimate the execution time required by a specified interface designers. The first one is choose one or more representative task scenarios. The next one is have the design specified to a point that keystroke level actions can be listed for the specific task scenarios. And the third step is for each task scenario, figure out the best way to do the task or the way that you assume user will do it. The fourth step is list the keystroke level actions and the corresponding physical operators involved in doing the task. The next step is, if necessary, include operators for when the user must wait for the system to respond. Next step is insert mental operators for when user has to stop and think. Next, look up the standard execution time to each operator. The next step is add up the execution times for the operators, and finally the total of the operator times is the estimated time to complete the task. The model decomposes the execution phase into 5 different physical motor operators, a mental operator, and a system response operator. And the first one is K. K is keystroking, actually striking keys, including shifts and other modifier keys. The next one is B, that is pressing a mouse button. B stands for button, pressing a mouse button. P is pointing, moving the mouse or similar device at the target. H is homing, switching the hand between mouse and keyboard. D is drawing lines using the mouse. M is mentally preparing for a physical action. And R is system response, which may be ignored if the user does not have to wait for it. And the next one is socio-organizational issues and stakeholder requirements. Social organization is a pattern of relationships between and among individuals and social groups. The characteristics of social organization can include qualities such as the composition, spatio, temporal cohesion, leadership, structure, and division of labor, communication systems, and so on. These organizational issues affect acceptance.
and they have conflict and power which benefits and encourage user. There are various stakeholders and they identify their requirements in organizational context. Socio-technical models, they have human and the technical requirements. And the next issue is soft systems methodology, and they have broader view of human and organizational issues. Next comes the participatory design, which includes the user directly in the design process. Final is ethnographic methods, where they study users in context, unbiased perspective. The various organizational issues are organizational factors can make or break a system, and studying the work group is not sufficient. That is, any system is used within a wider context, and the crucial people need not be direct users. And the next organizational issues is before installing a new system, must understand who are the beneficiaries, who puts in efforts, the balance of power in the organization, and how it will be affected. Even when a system is successful, it may be difficult to measure the success. Next, we have to look on to the stakeholders. A stakeholder is as anyone who is affected by the success or failure of the system. There are various stakeholders. One is primary stakeholder, or people who actually use the system, that is the end users. Secondary stakeholders are people who do not directly use the system but receive output from it or provide input to it. The next one is tertiary stakeholders, or people who do not fall into either of the first two categories but who are directly affected by the success or failure of the system. Facilitating stakeholders are people who are involved with the design, development, and maintenance of the system. Let's take an example of airline booking system, in which the stakeholders can be classified like primary stakeholders are travel agency staff, airline booking staff. Secondary stakeholders are customers, airline management. Tertiary stakeholders, they are competitors, civil aviation authorities, customers, traveling companions, airline stakeholders. Facilitating stakeholders, that is, we have to design the team and the IT department staff. And custom is a socio-technical methodology designed to be practical to use in small organization. It is based on the user skills and task match, that is USTM approach, developed to allow design teams to understand and fully document user requirements. Designers need to meet as many stakeholder needs as possible. That is usually in conflict, so we have to prioritize the which stakeholder comes first, and often priority decreases as move down categories, that is from primary to towards the least, that is life support machine, that has highest priority. The socio-technical modeling, they are response to technological determinism, and they are concerned with technical, social, organizational, human aspects of design. They describe impact of specific technology on organization. The information gathering, interviews, observations, focus groups, document analysis have to be considered, and various approaches like custom and OSTA has to be taken into account. That is, it focuses on establishing stakeholder requirements, and all stakeholders are considered, not just the end users. OSTA is Open System Task Analysis, and it is an alternative socio-technical approach which attempts to describe what happens when a technical system is introduced into an organizational work environment. And it specifies both social and technical aspects of the system. It focus particularly on task. But custom is a socio-technical methodology designed to be practical to use in small organization. That is, it is based on the USTM, user skills and task match approach, and it is developed to allow design teams to understand and fully document user requirements. It focuses on establishing stakeholder requirements, and all stakeholders are considered, not just the end users.